Hello everybody, welcome to English 101. I'm Allison Criswell, I'm teaching the class this quarter. This video will just basically introduce you to the class and tell you a little bit about what to expect and what kind of work we'll be doing this quarter. So the full title of this class, as you may or may not have seen already, is Expository and Argumentative Writing. And so with that in mind, we will be focusing on writing arguments in the class. And when you hear the term argument, you might be thinking of like a fight between people or a person trying really intensely to defend a position. And that's not really the meaning of the term argument from an academic perspective. If you go to your textbook, Everything's an Argument with readings, you'll notice that there's a glossary in the back. And on page 793, there's a definition of argument, which I've reproduced for you here. So the book defines argument in this way. A spoken, written, or visual text that expresses a point of view. So anything that's a text that expresses a point of view is an argument. It doesn't have to be hostile, it doesn't have to be inflammatory, it doesn't even have to be controversial. Any kind of an expression of a point of view is an argument. The second definition, which is related, is the use of evidence and reason to discover some version of the truth, as distinct from persuasion, the attempt to change someone else's point of view. And so really, if we look at all of this together, we can think of an argument just as something, some kind of a text that contains a claim, so a point of view, and then evidence for that claim, some kind of support. And so if you think about claim and support as constituting an argument, you'll sort of have a good start on the class. And we'll be focusing on different types of argumentation this quarter. There isn't just one way to make an argument. There are multiple different ways to do it. And so we'll be reading about those different ways in our book, and then we will be applying that to essay writing, because really, or we'll be practicing that through essay writing, I should say, because really, at the college level, whenever you're writing an essay, you're making an argument, whether you know it or not. You're always expressing a perspective, and you're always providing evidence for that perspective. There may be exceptions to this, but I can't think of any. So across the curriculum, whenever you're in a class, if you're asked to write something, typically you'll be expressing some kind of a point of view, whether it's your own or not, and then providing support for that point of view or evidence for that point of view. So what we'll do is look at a bunch of different ways to make arguments, and then we'll look at really solid essay structure in the class so that when you go on to other classes, whether those are English classes or not, you will be sort of prepared for those. And one way that we will be practicing essay writing and argumentation this quarter is by doing rhetorical analysis. And your book defines, oh, I should have put the page number and I didn't do it. It's in the glossary anyway, in the back of the book, in the 700 somewhere. The book defines rhetorical analysis as an examination of how well the components of an argument work together to persuade or move an audience. So what we will be doing a lot in the class is looking at different arguments and then analyzing them to see how well we think they work, with the hopes that if we can analyze essays and arguments and see how well they're working, we can apply that to our own writing and take the parts that we think work well and use them in our own writing and discard the parts that we think don't work that well or that aren't that persuasive. So skills that I hope you'll learn this quarter are basically basic skills for college level essay writing. I mean, I'm assuming you've written an essay before, but I don't want to assume that too intensely, because some of you probably have written a million essays, some of you probably have never written an essay, or it's been a long time since you've written an essay. Wherever you're at, that's okay. I'll kind of meet you where you are in this class. And we'll start by writing some kind of simple essays, and we'll progress to more complex ones. So I'm hoping that you learn how to write a college level essay in this class. I hope that you learn how to write an essay that makes an argument. An essay that doesn't make an argument is a report. So if you're just sort of regurgitating facts, but you're not using those facts to express a perspective or in any kind of an organized way, you're writing something and it might have meaning, but it's not expressing any kind of a perspective. It's not an argument. So an essay that makes an argument is really the focus of this class. And then I'm also hoping that you learn by the wayside sort of how to analyze and evaluate other people's arguments, because it's a good skill to have for college, but also it's a good skill to have in life. If you get more kind of sophisticated at analyzing arguments that you hear or that you see, you'll be a more savvy consumer of media, I'm hoping. Maybe you already are savvy consumers of media. So what we'll do in the class, and basically what this means is what you'll be graded on in the class. What we'll do in the class is read weekly reading assignments from Everything's an Argument. That's your course textbook. That's available in the GHC bookstore. It's also available, I believe, online. You can order it. Make sure if you're going to order it, well, It's probably too late to be telling you this, but I guess try to get it as fast as you can is the bottom line here. If it's delayed, there's really no way for me to like get you a copy of the book or get you chapters of the book. There is a copy of the book available in the library on reserve if you're able to get to the GHC library. You can photocopy sections of it or you can read it that way. TRIO might have a copy of the book. I know other instructors at the college use it. I don't think I'm the only one. Anyway, our book is Everything's an Argument with Readings, and every week we'll read a section or two from the book. The reading load will be fairly intensive, but I'm hoping you find it interesting. We'll do weekly discussions in Canvas, and those discussions are intended to sort of replicate for the online environment what would be a class discussion in a face-to-face classroom. Now, I know online discussions can seem kind of weird. Honestly, I'm still getting used to them after having taught for 10 years online. I'm still getting used to online discussions because to me they feel kind of stilted and weird. Like I'm asking you questions, you're replying to those questions, I'm asking you to reply to each other. You sort of feel obligated to do it. You end up sort of like writing responses that are box checking type responses. That's okay. We'll do our best. Online discussions can be a little strange, but I feel like they're useful because then you get to see what other students in the class think and also issues they're having or problems they're having. And so if you're confused about something in the reading, for instance, another student might also be confused about it, and you can sort of support each other, and then I'll jump in if I need to. So anyway, weekly discussions, you'll be graded on those. Details about the grading practices there are in Canvas. 3 essays you'll be writing this quarter, and each one builds on the skills that you practiced in the previous essay. And this is known as scaffolding in like EduSpeak. So the first essay will lead to the second essay will lead to the third essay. Each one kind of provides a framework for the next essay that you'll write. And for each of the 3 essays in the class, we'll go through the same process. So you'll write a draft, you'll submit it to a Dropbox for peer review, and then after you submit the essay for peer review, you will be given someone else's work to review, and you'll get points and a grade for reviewing someone else's work. So you don't actually get points or a grade for just submitting your own essay for peer review. Submitting your essay is like the entry ticket to the peer review. But then to get the grade, you have to review the other student's work. And there are directions for doing that in Canvas, probably more directions than you want. There are questions you need to answer. There's a whole big sheet in there in the intro module about how to complete a peer review. If you have questions about this, of course, you can ask me. Then after the peer review, whether you get good feedback or not, I'm hoping you do, but sometimes you won't. Then you submit the essay to me for a grade. If you ever want me to look at an essay before you're submitting it for a grade, I'm happy to do that. But for each essay after the peer review, you'll submit it to me for grading. I'll leave you comments, I'll fill out a rubric, you'll get a grade. That's the process we'll go through for each essay. And then as for how the classroom is set up, I'm hoping it's intuitive to you. I've tried to set it up in a way that makes sense to me in the hopes that then perhaps it will also make sense to you. I'm using modules because I hear that other faculty use modules and that's what students expect, and I'm getting used to the idea. I didn't used to use modules, but I've made the switch and I'm kind of warming up to it. So we'll use modules this quarter. Each module will kind of sort of look the same, and I've tried to keep consistent due dates and times. So what I mean by that is every week your graded discussions will be due the same day and time. Every week when you have an essay due, it'll be due the same day and time. The peer reviews will always take place the same day and time so that you'll be able to predict what kind of stuff is coming up. If you ever want like a bird's eye view of all the work in the class though, read the syllabus. The syllabus is posted in the introductory module. It has a schedule at the end that has all of the work we'll do all quarter, due dates, reading assignments, everything is in there. So although the modules won't unlock until the beginning of each week, Monday at 8 a.m., you'll be able to see all the work that's coming up if you just go to the syllabus. So how to contact me. Whenever you have a question about the class, whether that's about a reading assignment or whether it's about a course policy or when work is due or how to do something, the first place to go is the syllabus. See if you can answer the question for yourself. If it's a question that you think the textbook could answer, go to the textbook like, hey, what's the definition of argument or something? You can look it up in the glossary or look it up in the index of the textbook. If you do this and then you still have a question, you can ask it in the forum if you think another student could answer it. If it's the kind of question that you think other students might have an answer to, you can ask it there and maybe you'll get a response. I hope you get a response. Or if you have a question that you want to ask me directly, you can do this anytime via email or through Canvas messaging. I try to respond to messages quickly. I check my email frequently throughout the day, every day, throughout the week and on weekends. I go to sleep at about 9 o'clock at night because I'm old and I wake up pretty early. So if you're sending me a message late at night, which to me is after 9 o'clock, you won't get a response until the next morning. So you should be planning accordingly. Like if you tend to do your work late at night, maybe do it a day ahead so that you kind of can predict when you'll get a response from me so that you won't end up in a bind where you're like having to have work, where you're trying to submit work in an hour because of a due date and you need to ask me a question urgently and you know I won't be responding until the next morning. That's all a big long version of just me saying, hey, try not to procrastinate, which I know is asking a lot, but do your best. Anyway, you'll get a response from me within a day, typically, sometimes a lot quicker depending on what time of day it is and what the question is and whether I have my book in front of me when you're asking the question, if I need to. Anyway, I hope we have a great quarter. I hope this quarter goes smoothly for you. If you're struggling at any point, if you find that something isn't working for you, if you have a problem, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I don't take late work and there's no makeup work in the class, but other than that, if you have a problem, I can always work with you on it. And so please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. And happy English 101ing to you all.